really good night's sleep last night. Like a really good night's sleep. Even though I was chilly, it was more just my legs that were cold and I had no way of putting anything else on to warm them up. So, I need to get a bivy bag because my sleeping bag, the outside of my sleeping bag is always so cold throughout the night, and often around where my face is, there's condensation, so it makes it wet. So I think if I try a bivy bag, it'll keep it dry and it'll help keep me a little bit warmer. Like I said, it's cold this morning. I knew it was gonna get down to like 3 degrees last night, but if there's frost on the ground, it's colder here than 3. The sun should be peeking up over that mountain hopefully soon. Pretty cool though. I can't believe it's the last morning. If I had time, I'd go touch it, turn around, and go back the other way. But I don't have time to do that. All right, cheers. I'm gonna enjoy my hot chocolate. I'm in no rush this morning. It's just after 7. All right, we'll see you later. So as of right now, my feet feel okay. Much better than they did last night. Ooh, man, that was bad. They were so sore. So sore. It feels nice to not have to walk with my poles. It's road all the rest of the way. I'm actually very okay with that. It'll be a nice smooth walk in. Now that the sun is up, it's not quite so cold. Bit of a breeze, so the midges are being kept at bay. I'm sure it won't take long for my feet to still get sore because they are still tender, but at least it'll be smooth walking under my toes. All right. Well, while I'm road walking, I might as well use this time to kind of reflect back on, special moments and favorite spots and stuff I didn't like. So maybe I'll start with things that made me frustrated. So the last day, yesterday, I think for me it was the hardest day, and I honestly think it was just because of that stupid military road. I hated that. Absolutely hated it. It made the last day painful and awful, and even though the views were incredible, it was really hard to just kind of enjoy the walk because every step was so awful. Now if I had boots, that day probably would have been totally different, but I'm not going to carry boots just for one day of rocky hiking like that. So I guess really that was kind of like the thing that I hated. Other than that, there really wasn't, I didn't come across anybody that I didn't like. There was a couple of groups of people that were kind of like, nah, but at the same time, they fully respected that everybody was tired. So they all went to bed at a decent hour, or they watched their noise level. Everybody always respected each other's space. Other than the fact that yesterday was a military road, the entire trek has been incredible. Proud moments. So I'm really proud of the distance that I covered on a couple of the days. Like the day that I did 33 kilometers, everybody said that that was supposed to be the hardest day. Day 2, no, was it day 3? It was going from Cashel to Bangladesh, so I guess that was the 3rd day. And everybody was like, oh, it's the hardest day because you're going along Loch Lomond. Now I took the high road, and then I continued past inverse nades. So technically speaking, I did double the distance that day I was planning on doing. Now, if I hadn't have done that, I would have been in trouble today because I would have been a day behind. Same with going from King's House and pushing past King's House to Kinlochleven. If I hadn't have done both of those, I would have been a day behind. So I'm not sure what happened on my planning there for the mileage, because I was following the 8-day itinerary, so it's kind of weird. But anyway, yeah, so I'm quite proud of the distance that I've covered. There were a couple of really special moments going down into Kinlochleven a couple days ago. The views there were just exquisite, and to the point of being like overwhelming. So definitely a high point. The other thing too that I noted is everybody along the way was very friendly. I did not encounter anybody at any of the campsites being rude or dismissive. They always answered questions. They were very kind. And I found that even though I had to pay for the camping there, I enjoyed having the amenities of that campsite, being able to have a shower before I got into my pajamas or my sleeping gear, being able to kind of clean up after the end of the day. So if I was to do this again, which I absolutely would, I would probably do camping at Dribbin again, and then I would maybe wild camp the next night, and then do a campsite, and then wild camp, and then a campsite, and try to maybe do it that way. Especially when it was so hot. And on the exposed days when you were kind of out on the side of the mountains. That was the one thing that I did find, is when I didn't want to camp, or it was too early in the day to camp, there were all these incredible wild camping spots. And then of course when it's like I want to camp and I just want to chuck my pack down, set up shop and wild camp for the night, there was nothing available. Honestly, that was frustration. That was a frustration. It was that I just couldn't seem to find any wild camp spots that worked when I was desperate for one. Because I was on the side of the mountain coming down. Anyway, I guess the last thing I'll say about it was the friends. And maybe that's what's hard. Because even though this was a solo trek, I knew I was going to meet people. And I met so many wonderful people. I met Duncan, who I walked in with to Benglass on day 3. Alan, who has been kind of there the whole way, all the way to the end, and I'm sure I'll even see him at the end this morning. He wouldn't be long behind me leaving. Rowan, I haven't seen him now since in Verona, I guess. He's a full day behind me. And then there were some other people, the 2 girls from Austria. I did end up seeing one of them yesterday. Poor Melina, her feet were just so destroyed that her friend kept walking and she took a bus up to Fort William. So, yeah. But just, and then of course Scott and his gang. So many amazing, friendly people. And people I'll never see again, probably. And it didn't really seem to be a thing to like share contact information, which I'm okay with. It's not like I want to be best buddies with them for life, but you know, it was just the community out here was just so incredible and something that I will never forget.